What's going on? What's going on, man? It's your boy Butler, man. It's the best day of my life. Tomorrow is not promised. Go on and do your little dance while they are still playing your song. So we are currently in what is projected to be one of Georgia's worst prison wars in the history of the Georgia Department of Corrections. I think I just said too many words just then. Sunday during visitation, around about 12 o'clock, it pops off. I have intel that, I'm gonna get off to this first video, then I'm gonna tell you what people have told me from the inside of the institution.
Harold, as we come on the air with you tonight, we have an update on what law enforcement is calling a possible riot at Washington State Prison. 3 inmates are dead and a dozen more are hospitalized after major fights broke out at the prison this afternoon. That's according to Sheriff Joel Cochran. Tonight, our crews were on the scene to speak with Cochran. Here's what we know so far. Tonight, the Georgia Department of Corrections is investigating several major fights that broke out Sunday afternoon inside Washington State Prison. Washington County Sheriff Joel Cochran says 2 inmates were confirmed dead at the scene.
Early this afternoon, several major fights broke out within the facility between inmates, which has resulted in...
Now, what I was told was this, is that during the hours of visitation, which if you've ever been to prison, is from probably like 8 in the morning to I think right after count time, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock. So around about 12, a number of individuals, they took over, they snatched up the guard, grabbed the keys and went into the visitation room. Now, on some of the videos that's being shared online, you can see these people running over a unalived body. I'm going to just assume that this is one of the bodies of the that suffered from the unfortunate death. Bro, all this took place because of a cell phone. Of course, I heard that it was brewing up, but this is between the Bloods and the GD, and you're talking about 2 of the most powerful gangs in the state of Georgia, and they are at odds.
And approximately 13 inmates are being transported out of the facility for medical treatment.
The coroner's office said a 3rd inmate died hours later at Wellstar MCG in Augusta. That inmate was among the group of 13 hospitalized. While Cochran says he does not know what led up to the fights, he says 1 correction officer was injured.
I do not have any information as to what actually started this incident inside the facility, and I don't have any information to describe the incident.
Multiple agencies responded alongside the Washington County Sheriff's Office, including Georgia State Patrol, the Coroner's Office, Davis Borough Police, and the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. Multiple helicopters responded overhead. By 6 p.m., Cochran said the facility was secure and under control. So far, the Department of Corrections have not released any information about what led up to the fights or whether any charges will be filed.
It's been quite some time since we've had to come to an incident this large. I mean, we do respond out here to help with, smaller scale incidents, but today was probably one of the bigger ones we've had here in some time.
And we've reached out to the Department of Corrections for more information on this investigation. So far, we have not yet heard back and have not received any of the names of the victims. We'll give you the latest on the investigation on air and online as we learn more.
Now, those names of those individuals have been, let me get them to you. I don't want to play no music doing that. Stop that. If you go to my page, let me see what I have. No music, please. Thank you. All right, so you got Teddy Jackson. Teddy Jackson was from Macon. I'm not sure what gang he was affiliated with. Rest in peace to Teddy Jackson. It's not that Sheriff Dorsey. Okay, so let me go back to this is the CERT team going in to supposedly handle business. But let's go over to Tiffany and see what we have. Let's get some footage. Give me some footage. Not that kind. Yeah, discussion, freedom, files, events, videos. All right, this is Washington. Oh no, none of that. I don't need that music. All right, it's the tech squad, Washington County. They're going deep. They deep. They deep. The only thing about it is, this was this morning at Washington State. So, but it's continuing, meaning that, and it's spread over to different prisons. So as effective as the Department of Corrections is coming off right here, you have other institutions where it and they're moving at the speed of light in reference to communication. From my understanding, Hayes and Hancock caught that bug, then it spread over to Calhoun, Wheeler. Let's see what else we got. These are the conditions inside of, I'm not sure what camp this is at. Let's go to what we know what's going on.
Shit just don't stop, baby. Hey, these niggas running around here now with these nine. All these niggas got these nine. It's like 10 niggas running out the door with nine. The whole building coming out of the building.
More than 10.
I don't know what building they coming out of, but they coming now. They still busting this
They
nigga.
stabbing him, man.
They still stabbing?
Shit just don't stop, baby. Hey, these niggas running around here now with these nine. All these niggas got these nine. It's like 10 niggas running out the door with nine. The whole building coming out of the building now. I don't know what building they coming out of, but they coming now.
Hey, man. Damn, bro. All right, let's see. No. That's too horrific right there. All right, let's go back.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Maggie Fitzgerald.
So let's get back to that breaking news that we were talking about. This is out of central Georgia. 3 people confirmed dead, about a dozen sent to the hospital after a possible riot at the Washington State Prison. So this is what we know. The minimum security facility is about 2.5 hours southeast of Atlanta. Washington County Sheriff Joel Cochran says it all started when fights broke out among the inmates.
Several major fights broke out within the facility between inmates. It's not uncommon for these things to happen in correctional facilities. However, I think this has been it's been quite some time since we.
We're on the scene of some breaking news here in Washington County.
Let me say this, bro. What we're seeing at Washington State Prison is the collision of history, overcrowding, broken systems, and unresolved beefs. I know it sounds like we're on a repeat. They've been fermenting for years. Bloods versus GDs didn't wake up one morning and choose chaos. This war was built brick by brick by policies that pack human beings into pressure cookers and then act surprised when the lid blows, bro. From my understanding, I had on my other page, Stay Out of Prison, they at Washington State Prison have some dorms where there are 3 individuals, 3 bunks in a 2-man cell. A 2-man cell is really a 1 animal cell, and to put 3 of them in there is ridiculous. I also believe that the long arm of Willie Lynch is definitely in effect. By that, what I mean is that, bro, we people of color, for whatever reason, man, we do not like each other. We vehemently, I don't know if I'm using that word right, but I saw it on the GED quiz. Vehemently do not like each other. When prison becomes a war zone, when men are dying behind these walls, this is not corrections anymore. This is a war zone. With badges at the gate. Bloods, GDs, colors, numbers, lines drawn decades ago are still being enforced with steel hands and hatred. And the people paying the price aren't just the ones swinging. They're the ones trying to survive. The families waiting on calls and the officers walking tears, understaffed and outnumbered. This is going to be sad. This portion of this report is going to be sad just because, let's see, two arrested Washington County man. Inmate that 2 arrested, 2 accused, the driver 3 arrested, inmate escaped, 1 man dead, second 3 killed, and 12. So we have one individual, bro, that was supposed to come home.
In Georgia, I'm standing in front of the Greyhound bus station where they were set to have a family reunion on Wednesday. They had it all planned out. Jimmy Trammell,
that's today.
he was going to be released from that prison in Washington County, catch a bus here to this Greyhound bus station, and start his new life. But he was killed 4 days before his release.
He did 10 years in this prison, and he didn't make it home.
Home. It's where 42-year-old Jimmy Trammell expected to be Wednesday after 10 years as an inmate with the Georgia Department of Corrections for felony burglary charges.
He was going to be taking the bus back here, and he needed to be picked up from the bus station. And I was going to pick him up from the bus station, but I didn't get that chance.
According to Aquinas, his brother Jimmy Trammell was killed Sunday as fights broke out in the Washington State Prison in Washington County. Trammell is one of 3 inmates who were killed. The Department of Corrections saying Ahmod Hatcher and Teddy Jackson are the other 2 inmates. At least 13 other inmates and a corrections officer were injured. Aquinas got a call from the warden in the early hours of Monday morning.
She just said he was involved in an altercation and he lost his life.
For Aquinas and Trammell, the past 10 years have been rough. They lost both of their parents and 2 siblings. But Trammell's release was a chance at a second life, the turning of a new leaf.
He talked about proving to me a better side of him than what I know. And that was taken away from me. And I need answers. I really do.
The Department of Corrections say this all started as an altercation on a sidewalk between inmates that were a part of gangs. Within 2 hours, so they say they had this under control. But Trammell's family now obviously planning a funeral instead of a reunion. We're now live here downtown.
Hey man, I did 10 years at in the Georgia Department of Corrections, and you know, ironically, I was released from Washington State Prison. My people came and picked me up. From Washington State Prison, bro. But what I'm telling you is that was 20 years ago. And these are 2 different institutions, bro. When I was there, they locked me down 2 weeks prior to me coming home. Because I was from Alto, they thought I was going to, try to set something off. But I'm just trying to come home. But what I'm saying is they were fully staffed in. There were 3 shifts. There were individuals who would put a foot in your ass. No disrespect to anybody that's doing anything right now, because if you're going to work under those conditions, man, shit, the Lord need to be with you like they need to be with these individuals that are incarcerated there. It is a hellhole. I'm telling you that because on this page, what you'll see is me talking to an officer that was once working there, but because of the unhuman-like, inhumane conditions, they put in some paperwork and tried to get some help, and later relieved, to say the least. But go check that interview out. Let's see.
Time now 7:05. New this morning, 3 inmates are dead and at least a dozen more in a hospital after major fights broke out at a Georgia prison. The Department of Corrections is investigating what law enforcement calls a possible riot at Washington State Prison in Georgia. Authorities say during Sunday's melee, 2 inmates died at the scene. A third died hours later at a hospital, and investigators.
Listen, when gangs are at war, the narrative stays simple. They did it to themselves. No one has to answer for overcrowding. No one has to explain why units are short-staffed. No one has to explain why rehabilitation budgets disappear while razor wire keeps getting upgraded. A divided population is easier to control. A fighting population distracts from institutional failure. So the war continues and the deaths stack up like paperwork. No one wants to read. That's just the truth of the matter. Let's
New at
continue.
9, 3 inmates have died in a possible riot at a Georgia prison. Authorities say that another dozen inmates got hurt this afternoon at Washington State Prison over in Davisboro. The sheriff says that several major fights ended up breaking out. He says everything is now under control, and the other agencies
That's
are
cap.
helping ensure that all inmates are.
Everything is not under control. That's false reporting, my bro. Now, so let's go into some of the other issues that they've had at Washington State Prison.
New tonight. Contraband drops in Georgia prisons are becoming a growing concern. Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr said more than 8,000 cell phones were confiscated in 2023. As of June of 2024, 5,400 were confiscated. Washington County Sheriff's deputies have worked to stop these smuggling attempts, leading to multiple arrests. Jasmine Lee sat down with the sheriff and tells us more.
It's a problem here, but it's also a statewide problem.
It's not unusual for deputies to catch people trying to fly contraband into Washington State Prison, but Sheriff Joel Cochran says they've seen an increase the last few months.
It's very dangerous. These people that are trying to make these drops, and they're bringing these items, put them into these facilities.
Washington County Sheriff's deputies stopped 5 attempts just this year, leading to...
Hold on, go back though, because know your words.
Washington
Look
County
what's
Sheriff's...
coming in though. Look. I don't want to move those letters. All right, let's go back to this.
Put them into these facilities.
Washington County Sheriff's deputy.
Bro, those are firearms. This is shit y'all caught. Those are firearms. Those are pistols.
He stopped 5 attempts just this year, leading to 11 arrests. Sheriff Cochran says people are using drones to smuggle in drugs.
Drugs, cigarettes, phones, and guns.
Phones and weapons, but his team has been successful in stopping these drops before anything makes it inside the prison walls.
We've been doing it for several years, but we have some tools that we're able to use to detect people, and it draws our attention to people.
Thanks in part to their constant patrolling, deputies haven't just stopped these drops. They've also caught wanted suspects based on intel from the smuggled phones.
Oftentimes we're catching phones to be in these packages where this is what's enabling the people on the inside to communicate with the people on the outside to make these attempts happen.
Last year, Washington deputies stopped 20 prison drops and arrested 40 people. Cochran says the illegal smuggling attempts don't just put inmates at risk, they're also endangering prison staff.
That one thing gets inside, it could cause someone's death. Whether it be from a weapon or it be an overdose of some sort.
Sheriff Cochran says his team remains focused on stopping these dangerous drops to keep the area safe. Reporting in Washington County, Jasmine Lee, 13 WMAZ News.
Breaking news at mid.
Now here is let me see, this was an unaliving that took place about a year ago. Let's dive in.
Today, an inmate has died at the Washington State Prison, according to the Georgia Department of Corrections. They say yesterday around 5:15, they found 42-year-old Tory Forrester lying on the floor in his cell and called for medical staff. According to authorities, Forrester's death is undetermined at this time. There are no reports of any altercation or a delay in response. Forrester will be autopsied by the GBI Crime Lab, and his death is being investigated by the GDC Office of Professional Standards.
Our top story tonight at 11, 3 men in Washington County are in jail after deputies say they tried to smuggle drugs into Washington State Prison. Ahmod Hill, Princeton Smith, and Jalen Stevens are charged with multiple crimes, including items prohibited by inmates and criminal trespass. According to a Facebook post by the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Hill was waiting in a vehicle for 2 passengers he dropped off near the prison in the 13,000 block of Highway 24 East. Deputies and prison employees then found several bags of contraband. They say the 2 passengers.
You know, I once had a situation, bro, where, sometimes in the state of Georgia, you'll be riding down the freeway and you'll see trustees or individuals who are trusted to come out and work. They'll do the cigarette sign. They'll tell you to throw them something. And just like feeding the hungry, this shit probably feel good. Oh, man, I gave them some cigarettes. Man, listen to me. First of all, if you're a trustee, you about to come home in a little bit. You don't have a whole bunch of time. And I could throw you a pack of cigarettes and I can get more time than what you got. That just don't make sense to me. But I guess loyalty for the bros or whatnot, because you got some people that's locked up and you ain't broke no laws, but you gonna break a law trying to get them situated inside, and now you gonna be sitting inside with them. You going to prison for trying to help people in prison. I'm good. Now, the next video is my guy Chase, man. This is an officer from he was at Telfair. He's actually been an officer at Washington State Prison. Again, if you watch any of my lives, you've seen him there several times. Let's see what he has to say.
Okay, so just coming on here to give everybody an update as to what all is going on regarding the situation with the Georgia Department of Corrections. For anybody that doesn't already know, we have catastrophic staff shortages at many of our prisons here in Georgia, and some have been like this for years on end, dating back even to 2019 at some of the prisons. I know that Telfair hasn't been any type of adequately manned since prior to 2019, and there are many other prisons that are like that as well. So I am a former employee of the Georgia Department of Corrections. I worked at 5 different prisons. I fulfilled roles as CERT commander at three of the prisons here in Georgia, which that's just the emergency response team for the prison, kind of like SWAT full-time for the prison to respond to any kind of incidents and just help maintain order. And also I've been a post-certified instructor since 2017. I fulfilled several full-time positions as an instructor with the state of Georgia as well. And that's the position that I was in when I left the state of Georgia last year. And the circumstances surrounding my leaving were that I had seen enough from with my own eyes of the conditions in the department to make the determination that something had to be done. Now is what I felt like last year, but really even before that. I mean, in 2020, I thought that something had to be done now, but just over years and years and seeing different things. I'll give you an example. About 2 to 3 weeks before I left with the department, there was an officer at Washington State Prison that was down in the dormitory, and he got called to the next door building by the other officer because the other officer had an inmate being belligerent with her. Okay, this officer was the only male officer on the compound this day. There was maybe 4 other females there, and he walked over to the building, and when he got there, the inmate punched him, and it knocked him down to the ground, and then the inmate proceeded just to stomp him out there on the sidewalk and just beat on him. And nobody really was able to help him for minutes, until some backup got there. In fact, it was down in a dormitory at Washington, and the first person to really get involved physically with getting the other inmate under control was the front entry officer. So the front entry officer had to run all the way from front entry down to the building. So, and the other 2 people that was around just, froze up. And look, with situations like that, because the whole situation should never have even been allowed to happen. You should never have one lone male officer on a compound of a male prison. That is asking for trouble. Anytime this officer gets involved in a situation like this, if somebody gets the better of him, then you don't have any backup.
Let's tell me now, what he's talking about just literally took place. There was a lone officer in the visitation room. These individuals were permitted to roam the camp free. There's a lack of staff. There is a shortage of staff in the Georgia Department of Corrections. Let's continue.
And then people say, oh, the women can do backup and all that. No, they cannot. Women cannot offer men backup dealing with the physicality of men. Okay. And that's just the truth. Anybody that has ever been in violent situations with men understands completely what it is. Okay. When men get violent, especially in a correctional environment, it's going to take men to get him under control, okay? Unless the pepper spray or something works, or unless the taser works. Physically, a woman cannot go against a man. I have personally seen men in handcuffs manhandle 2-3 women at the time, okay? And that's not a shock. That's just reality, okay? But so I seen this, or heard about this happening, and was getting told about the story of everything that happened surrounding that incident. And that's not the first incident like that, where we have an officer that is in a situation where they should never have been there anyway. We should not have had this compound running at this catastrophic of a level. Y'all, when I say that our prisons have a problem, a catastrophic problem, I mean like I'm talking about, where you may have one able-bodied person there, or sometimes even none. Not we, because I'm not with the Department of Corrections anymore. The Department of Corrections leaves female officers by themselves on male compounds. Not by themselves like, oh, they're in the dormitory by themselves. No. There is no man even there to do anything. So I'll just ask everybody that watches this to just think about that for like 10 seconds and understand that the severity of what's going on. Okay? These people are at the mercy of the inmates. Okay? And look, I'm not saying that, the inmates are going to do something bad to them. Sometimes they do, like what we're talking about. But my point is that by allowing these things to be like this, we've set up a power dynamic in our prisons that is completely insane. Okay? Even at Johnson State Prison, before I left, this was the whole time I was at Johnson. I was only at Johnson for 1 year. Okay? From the moment I got there to the moment I left, most of your female officers, especially your female supervisors and people that walked around the compound, which there wasn't many, had what I called and what most people called inmate bodyguards. They had inmates that rode with them everywhere they go. Because there was there at Johnson when I was there, until we got a new captain in, there was only 3 able-bodied men, period, working there. Okay? So that's the kind of situation that you're in. 3 men total. I'm not talking about, this is all, and all 3 of us was on split shift. So when you're at night and things like this, it's completely insane. It's crazy. Okay? And the policies that the Georgia Department of Corrections has pushed over these last several years have led to this, by definition. All right? These are the fruits of the things we've been doing. And part of that is ACA, which is totally corrupt. Everybody knows that's working with the Department of Corrections, knows that the whole ACA thing is all fallacy. Because none of these prisons can even uphold the standards. Even though it says that they uphold the standards on paper, it's impossible. There's no way. Okay, and that's part of this, because the Department of Corrections entire force, as far as this is what we need to do, has been making this happen. It hasn't been to make sure that we follow the policies of the ACA. Instead, it's been to make sure that we can get the paperwork together to say that we have this ACA, which all goes into lawyers and legality and so forth and so on, with that comes with the membership in the American Correctional Association. But we're not members, okay? Because we don't follow their rules anyway. We're not following the rules of any kind of prison, period, anymore. Like I say, we're down to no other. They're abandoned of security staff at most of these prisons. Most of these prisons don't have 10 able-bodied people working there. We have CERT teams with 1 person. A team, emergency response team of 1. It's just the commander. That's it. Okay, and these people are in such danger. And not only the staff, the inmates, because they're left down in the dormitories with no supervision pretty much ever. We got inmates that are dying and being down in the dormitory for hours and hours before anybody gets even notified.
Okay, if you want to hear the remaining of this, go to Chase RYAL, CHASERYAL to get this story and additional stories. It's a different perspective because he actually trained and worked and trained other officers in the Georgia Department of Corrections.
3 inmates are dead and at least 13 are injured after a possible riot at Washington State Prison. Washington County Coroner Paul Hodges confirmed 3 inmates died in that incident.
It's pretty much the same information.
Tonight, 2 women are facing multiple charges after deputies say they tried to smuggle contraband into Washington State Prison. Sheriff Joel Cochran says they were caught near the prison with drugs, phones, a knife, and a drone. You can see some of the...
Let's see what they got. Knives. They got the real knives. Perkins, cell phones, chargers, AirPods, tobacco, weed, drone. I don't know what that is. Milk? Oh, then tape. Scissors. Boy, there's so much contraband in it. Man, that's crazy.
Items deputies took on your screen right now. Both women are now charged with trafficking, possession, and trying to trade with inmates.
Our top story tonight at 5:30, the Washington County Sheriff's Office has arrested 2 people for an apparent attempt to smuggle contraband into the county.
I've seen that one.
And the dangerous deliveries continue at the Washington State Prison in Davisboro. The sheriff says almost half of the inmates in the county jail are there for attempted contraband drop.
Post that as we're going by. If it's open, take a peek in there, look and see if we have an alternate.
Well, a Washington State Prison inmate is dead. The Georgia Department of Corrections confirming today Tori Forrester died on Monday. The GDC says it has not determined the cause of death, and there have been no reports of any altercations. Forrester's body has been turned over to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation for an autopsy. He was serving 3 years for possession with intent to distribute meth. According to the Washington County Sheriff's Office, deputies found illegal drugs and contraband near Davisboro last Saturday. And then on Sunday, they say they were made aware of another attempted contraband drop at Washington State Prison.
With more on the issues surrounding prison security, let's welcome Marcus Snipes. He's a former U.S. Secret Service agent in charge and current head of security for our parent company, Tegna. We thank you for being here with us this morning. When you hear that 3 inmates were killed in one incident, what does that immediately tell you just about the severity of the situation?
I mean, if anyone that loses a life in a disturbance inside a prison, it's very, very, very serious. That's the last thing those prison officials want to see. They've set up all sorts of protocols and
Okay, so I want to say this, and then we'll conclude with what he's saying, and not to disregard what he's saying, but we've kind of heard this retort. Every gang war ends the same way. It's going to be more lockdowns, more retaliation, more names added to a list that nobody reads. Washington State Prison is just the headline today. Tomorrow it'll be another facility, another unit, another family notified by a knock they'll never forget. This isn't about choosing sides. It's about acknowledging a system that keeps recycling violence and calling it order. Until human beings are treated like human beings, until accountability reaches higher than the tier, the war won't end. It'll just move locations.
And structures and standards so that this does not occur. This is one of those worst case scenarios. And when you're talking about the number of inmates that have been injured and killed, that's a major deal for a prison or any type of facility. It's just tragic, and I'm sure going forward, they're going to look at the mistakes. If there were mistakes, they're going to look at some after action, points that they could have taken, and they'll try to improve on their training and their emergency protocols as a result of this.
Hey, I want to conclude with this, that rest in peace to everybody who has lost their lives, man. If anybody's listening, bro, let them wag, let them slide. If you're in chain, bro, let them slide. Let them slide. Let them live. Let them live. Because this shit is going to continue. We're going to keep dying. When y'all get done with this, when y'all pass away, somebody else going to come along. And it's going to be the same situation, bro. We fucking losing. That's a battle that we're losing, bro. We're losing that battle, man. So I'm going to conclude, bro. We out, man. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think, man. Like, share, subscribe. We out.